We are back. Let's get the screen up. Sorry about that. We're switching articles. We just talked about catcher. So look for that to be embedded for that video to be embedded in that article right here. But let's go back a little ways and let's talk about the winter. I mean, I wrote this article 3 days ago, preparing the Astros for the winter meetings, and this essentially is my shopping list for the winter meetings. The good news is the Astros are talking about catcher, and we just covered that, so I'm not going to cover catcher into the near to the detail. But winter meetings, priorities. Let's talk catching. Let's talk. What is it that the Astros need? Hang on, let me get the chat up here. Well, what am I doing? Oh, I know what I'm doing. I'm on the wrong screen. Okay, guys. So the way I look at it, the Astros have 4 priorities coming into this offseason. Catcher, number 1 priority for me. First base, number 2 priority for me. Solved with Abreu. Outfield, either doing something that directly impacts or upgrades center field, or sign a left fielder and allow Chas McCormick to take over more time in center field until you can figure out the McCormick. I mean, guys, I wrote an article about McCormick versus Myers at the end of 20, near the end, probably in August of 21. And basically I said, I don't know which of these two is better. When I wrote the article, people dragged me and said, well, isn't it obvious, Larry? It's Myers. And now if I literally were to put out that article with the same exact data, everybody said, Larry, what are you talking about? It's clearly McCormick. I still don't know which one's better, guys. So, let's just say center field, it's either McCormick territory or Myers territory, but we can help that by letting McCormick play a little more. I think at this point, the McCormick camp is probably right. McCormick is a more sure thing. And so, but they do still have a need to improve the outfield. And then I've been saying that this team really still needs to improve left-handed relief pitching. And so that those now, so now that we've improved first base, I think there's 3 priorities. Okay, now I'm not going to dig deep into the catching side of this because you want to talk about the catching side. We literally you can go see what I said there. Um, so no, the Astros don't need the other thing. Let me say this before we go on. The Astros do not need a utility player. And if you're thinking about the utility player that everybody keeps talking about, Hensley and Dubon are the utility players for this team. Now you can be upset that even I'm talking about Dubon, but Dubon is like the second utility player for this team, and you can almost like if we solve the outfield situation right, Myers is a utility outfielder for this team too, although he almost will always play center field, and McCormick's the one that'll swing around to the different spots. But you know, Hensley and Dubon. Hensley is the main infield utility player. Dubon's the main outfield utility player. Uh, Myers is the main fourth outfielder. That's the way I view this team. I don't see any time for the other utility player you're thinking about. And I'm not even going to say his name because I'm tired of talking about that player. And I love that player, but I get accused of dragging and hating him. So I'm not going to bring it up. So as we went to the winter meetings this week, I believe the Astros have about $30 to $35 million below the CBT, and you can go look at the payroll Armageddon articles. Was essentially the big theme of those was don't sign Justin Verlander. You notice that the starting pitching wasn't on this, is not on this list, not there, right? Now, I will say that after we solve these 3 things, the 3 main things, if there's a starting pitching option out there that makes sense for the Astros, I'm more than interested in it because I'm a little concerned about starting pitching right now. In fact, I wanted to sign Andrew Haney. I wasn't really sure I wanted to spend, what I thought was going to be 10 million. I'll go find out exactly what. Apparently, he just signed with the Rangers to find out what he got paid. If somebody jumps into the chat, they can tell me. Um, but no matter what people say, no matter what the Astros say, they do not want to sign players to multi-year deals that take this team over the CBT in 2023. Because if they do that, now there was multiple elements there. Okay, one, take deals to take this team over to CBT. Two, multi-year deals. Now, I think they're going to sign Contreras to a multi-year deal if they go that route. If they can get under the CBT with that. So that's one deal, one multi-year deal at catcher. If they trade for Sean Murphy, like we just talked about, Murphy and Contreras, or if they sign or they go sign Vasquez and bring him back, that's a multi-year deal. Catcher can be the one multi-year deal that they got left. I think that they're going to do short-term deals in the outfield. We'll talk about that a little bit more. We talked about it a little bit with the catching article, but because it was in the context of those frameworks of those deals. This team, if they sign another, let's say they go get a Benintendi and a Contreras and a pitcher, that's all three of those multi-year deals, they are over the CBT in 23, 24, and you're sitting there preparing for the 25 season, and you are going to want, as an Astro fan, for this team to do whatever it takes to bring in Jose Altuve, and that may be a $30 million AAV deal. And they're going to want whatever it takes to get Alex Bregman back here, and that may be a $30 million AAV deal. You may think I'm too high about that, but guys, they're making that's the money they're making. They will be making in 23, 24 on their deals. So basically, you bring them back for what they're currently making, and you sign them for 3 or 4 more years, and keep that core of this team, the heartbeat of the offense, um, here. And you are in 2025, if you haven't already done so, and hopefully they do before the 24th season, you're going to want to sign Kyle Tucker to a long-term extension. That may be more expensive than any deal on the radar right now. I'm just Kyle Tucker had. I mean, I as soon as Kyle Tucker and the Astros get through arbitration together and figure out a number that they can both settle on, this team really needs to sign Kyle Tucker up before the 23 season, because that guy is going to get. He's going to be the best, most positively impacted by the elimination of the shift than any player in baseball. I am going to be going to Las Vegas with my wife in January. I don't gamble, but I am going to find a sports book, and I am putting a bet on Kyle Tucker and Jordan Alvarez for MVP. Just tell you, that's what I'm going to do. That may be the only bet I make all week. Um, Okay, so the point is, I mean, we talked about this in the payroll Armageddon article. There's no way that this team wants to go above the CBT this year. So please, when you hear about deals, understand that the Astros, whatever they do, whatever they spend from this point forward, if that's more than $35 million, understand that could put either Altuve or Bregman at risk, or Tucker at risk. I want all three of those. I want this team to have Jose Altuve, Alex Bregman, Kyle Tucker, Jordan Alvarez, and actually also Christian Javier for the foreseeable future. and next three right for till 2028. That's what I want. Okay, so that's the context that surrounds, like, okay, so what does it mean, what does all that mean? Like, why did you go off on that tangent? That went off on that tangent because I need people to understand, when I said this team has 30 to 35 million dollars, there's multiple bigger reasons behind that. All right, so let's say we're going to target it to be less than 30, because then we have the financial flexibility in the season, if somebody gets hurt, that we can solve a problem with a trade or something along those lines. What would step one? And I'm not going to go deep down into this, but step one for me was I'd be signing Wilson Contreras. Now, that also could look like the Sean Murphy deal that we just covered in the catching article. So, addressing catcher is step one. That's number one priority. That is, at this point, it was number one priority coming out of the season. It's a number one priority now. And you hear the Astros talking about catcher almost every day. They know it's the number one priority. And I mean, Yuli fans, I mean, um, Maldonado fans, I love Martin Maldonado just as much as you do, but this team has to do better at catcher than they did last year. And you can talk to me about defensive stats, and we can get down that rabbit trail of, like, no, he's not as good defensively as you think, because that's what the advanced metrics say. You know, if this team signs Wilson Contreras, we're going to have a really deep drill conversation about Wilson Contreras versus Martin Maldonado defensive stats. And it's not going to be the slam dunk you think it is. If this team trades for Sean Murphy, that is a slam dunk, 100%. Sean Murphy is a hell of a lot better catcher, period. Offensively, defensively, and any other way you want to talk about than Martin Maldonado. If that hurts Martin Maldonado's feelings, then I would ask Martin Maldonado to go back to the Larry the Gym website and read the Truth Hurts article. I can't be any more blunt than that. That's how I'm feeling about these situations. So sign Wilson Contreras, 18 to 20, maybe. I think it's going to be about a 19 to 19.5 million dollar deal for Wilson Contreras. Now, the only way that works is if you give Wilson Contreras 60 to 80 games at catcher. That's what they really need to do. I'm not sure this team's really going to do that, but I think even Dusty is talking about, like, playing, even if that they need to do something other than Martin Maldonado catcher as much as they did. If there really was a requirement from JV that Martin Maldonado be his catcher, well, that's 30 starts that there's no longer a requirement. I don't believe that was ever true, but a lot of you do, because if that were true, then why wasn't he the preferred catcher over Jason Castro when Castro was JB's catcher? I don't want to relitigate all those things, but that's here or there. So number two, step two, and we talked about this in the context of the Contreras and or Murphy deals. This team does need to sign a high risk, high reward outfielder. I gave you the three of them: Michael Brantley, age 36; Michael Conforto, age 30. Both of them coming off of shoulder issues. You know, the Astros probably know more, obviously, about the Brantley situation, but they're talking about, like, hey, we're not sure about Brantley's injury, and we're not going to really know till March. I don't know that I don't know that Jim Crane's really going to want to wait till March. Then the really highest risk, potentially highest reward in 2023, and does add an element to, like, clubhouse culture. Is the clubhouse culture for this team strong enough to be able to withstand this? Cody Bellinger, age 27, former MVP, and has been, had injuries and hasn't seemed to recover from those injuries. Is he healthy? Is he ready to go? And his agent, Scott Boras, is saying we're not signing a long-term deal with Cody Bellinger. And I think that's good news for the Astros because they can play that game. So I don't think any of those should cost more than $12 million. I think some of them could cost as low as six. I think Conforto may be the cheapest. Um, Maybe Brantley's the cheapest. But the fact that they haven't signed quickly tells me that they're probably not getting the 1 year deal that they want. I don't know that the Astros can wait till March, but I would I would love to see them make a move in in the winter meetings this week to get one of those three. And the reason for that is we talked about in the Murphy article. If this team does end up trading for Sean Murphy, Chas McCormick is most likely one of the big assets in that trade, and therefore you may have to sign two of these guys. Again, both of these are all. This is going to be 1, maybe 2 year deals maximum. They're going to be cleared off the CBT calculation before 2025. So they shouldn't impede your ability to do what you want to do long term with Altuve and Bregman. If the Astros do not get that help in the outfield, what they're telling you is they really, 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 really believe in their outfielders. What does that look like? It looks like what the Astros did last year with Carlos Correa and Jeremy Pena. This front office, to their credit, and they, even more than Clint and I, who wrote a pretty favorable article about Jeremy Pena last year in the offseason, this front office, James Click and that crew, believes so much in Jeremy Pena that they didn't go what would have been the easy solution, right? And so if the Astros do not go take any of those, do not invest any resources in any of those short-term deals with any of those high-risk, high-reward outfielders, then they're telling you they believe in their guys, and they intend to go put Jordan Alvarez in the outfield at least a lot, potentially a lot early in the season. See which one of the younger players is ready to go, and again bring them up. So Manichevic, Leon, Dearden, even Yanier Diaz can play in the outfield. So if they're not trading for Sean Murphy and Yanier Diaz is not in that deal, he may be a person they put in the outfield. Joe Perez has had limited starts in the outfield. Maybe he can do that. So they also have said they're going to put Contreras in the outfield a little bit, maybe early. Maybe that happens early and see how it works, see how he does, sharing time with Maldonado, Contreras. We'll talk about that, but Contreras there really is no reason to believe that Wilson Contreras can play good outfield. Even if you say, well, anybody can play left field in Minute Maid Park. I'm not sure that's true. The other thing it says is this team will have had data and will understand Jake Myers' recovery and his rehab situation. And like I said, I've said multiple times, most of this fan base believed Jake Myers was the next. Okay, it wasn't the next Willie Mays, but you guys were all like, Jake Myers is by far the best center fielder this team has over Chas McCormick in September 21. And you could enter the season with your primary left field and right field being Chas McCormick and Jake Myers, with Alvarez playing, half the time out there as well. That's not a totally terrible thing. If you've solved catcher and you already have solved first base. If your weakest link is Jake Myers in center field, batting him ninth with some speed, that's a way better situation than having Martin Maldonado bat ninth. Okay, and so that's what this team can do. What the Astros should not do is trade for Ryan Reynolds. And I wrote an article, a very pointed article about that. I think I was pretty persuasive. You guys can tell me. I mean, I can go make a video about that one. I don't think I have. Here's what I think the Astros should do. They should sign one of these high risk, high reward left fielders, and try to get Conforto, try to get Bellinger in the range of 6 to 9 million, probably closer to 9. Maybe go to 10. Make that deal, get it done, and then if you end up trading for Sean Murphy, then I'm a little less eager to go ahead and because I think I'm going to put Chas McCormick in that deal. I'm either putting Chas McCormick or I'm putting Luis Garcia. So depending on which side of that goes, I'm either going to have to fix another outfielder, or I'm going to have to get more starting pitching. The last thing I would do, and I've talked about this multiple times in multiple spaces, I would really love this team to get a left-handed relief pitcher. I'd love to go trade for Joe Manaply. And, that I've proposed deals to do that in the trade article. You can see that, you follow that link, you can see what that is. I'm not sure this team really should spend that draft capital or that trade capital to get Joe Manaply. But the Rangers just apparently signed Andrew Heaney. And that means I think the Rangers have 5 left-handed pitchers. Now, the Astros destroy left-handed pitching. And so we'll enjoy that in the series with the Rangers. But I don't think I think the fact that the Rangers have 5 left-handed pitchers, 2 starters, 3 relief pitchers, they can afford, or they be willing to more open to talk about trading Andrew Heaney. Or, sorry, trading Taylor Hearn. And so their 40. The other thing is their 40-man was completely full. So I'm not necessarily sure how the Rangers are even going to get Andrew Heaney in, unless they do perform a trade. And the Rangers do profile as a team that might be willing to take a high risk, high reward flyer on a Rule 5 draft player. So it's kind of like an ideal afternoon to call the Rangers and say, hey, let's go see what we can do there. And I'm getting hits on Twitter, so maybe I need to go. Oh, Cody Bellinger. Here we go. Cody Bellinger. Well, Cody Bellinger's market was a lot higher than I thought. He got 17.5. Larry the GM doesn't know what the hell he's talking about, does he? But I think that Scott Boras a good agent. I really would hope that this team does something now to get a that this team can get one of these other um, left fielders. I'd love to go get Conforto and see what we can do there. But when we talk about Taylor Hearn, we're talking about a pitcher that had a 5.13 ERA last year. Okay, that's terrible. He wouldn't have ever pitched. But he had a FIP of 3.98. That's a marginal pitcher. His FIP as a relief pitcher was 2.75. It keeps getting better, right? Now, if you want to look at it from the xwOBA standpoint, his xwOBA versus lefties is 0.260. That's really good. And his xwOBA versus right-handers 291 as a relief pitcher last year. Both those are really good numbers. Now, as a starter, it's not good. He wasn't good as a starter. He'd only be an emergency starter for the Astros. But he could be that left-handed arm in the bullpen that I think this team still needs, and I think it's something that Dusty and I are aligned on. He's only going to make $1.7 million. So if you put these 3 deals together in this article, right? You've got Hearn at $1.7 million. You've got an outfielder that I'm saying that outfielder needs to be in the nine-ish range. Maybe we go a couple $1 million more than that. and then we're gonna go Wilson Contreras. I can add all those numbers up, and I'm less than the 35 million. Um, that's where I want to be. I want to be at a roughly $30 million number with these three deals, so that I can go do what I need to do as a trade deadline approaches and make a deal. If I need more starting pitching, I can get it then. That's how I do. That's what if I'm the Astros, that's what I'm doing. The fact that the Astros let Cody Bellinger go when he got paid $17.5 million. Kudos to the Cubs for signing Cody Bellinger for $17.5 million. Not sure he's worth that, but maybe he will be. But there you go. That's where I'm at with the my checklist for the Astros in the winter meetings. Let's see how it goes. Guys, I should have said this in the beginning, but let me say it now. You're here watching this video. Please watch the video. Please like the video. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please come to the website. Subscribe to the website. Again, guys, no one's doing the off season like we are at Larry the Jam. We are putting out content almost daily on things. Sometimes we've done 2 articles a day. Some days we haven't done an article, but we're all over these the news of the day. And I just really had to ask for you guys to support the channel, support the website. And so let me know how it's going. I've tried to do a few things to make the website even better for a mobile device. Heard some good things about that. But guys, you know, I just appreciate your support and and appreciate I appreciate positive feedback because quite frankly, when you're being as blunt and direct about some of the issues that the Astros have, you get a lot of negative feedback. So I appreciate it when I hear some positive feedback. But let's see what happens with the Astros and guys, appreciate your time and thanks. We'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.